What's up? It's Eric from I Prevail.
And I'm Lzzy from Halestorm, and you're watching Two for the Road right here on Heavy Consequence. Well, hi, Eric. How you doing?
Yeah, good.
I was trying to think of the first time that I actually saw you guys perform, and I can't remember because I'm that whole lead singer disorder thing. I can't remember specifically what the year was of the date, but I think it was like something like Rock on the River in like Omaha, Nebraska. There was like all of us, and we were just kind of like, and I remember you laid waste to that stage, and that was the first time I actually really experienced you. I had heard some songs before, but I had not experienced you guys, and I loved, because I'm a singular front person, and I loved the fact that it was like, guys, look, there's two, and everyone's sharing the load. But then after that, I remember us just listening to the radio, and every time that our ears would perk up, every time we're like, what was that? It was I Prevail. And then the next time it would happen, like, oh, that's I Prevail again. We have to like dig into this. So then of course, so I get a little obsessed once, like when that stuff starts happening. So like I kind of deep dove on a lot of like your earlier stuff and like the things that were moving, and because it was like, okay, there's something to this, because like everything else is just white noise, and then you guys were like this shiny thing that would happen. Be like, wow, that was an amazing melody, or oh my God, there's a chorus finally. I feel like I've gotten a little, I try not to be, but I've gotten a little jaded over the years when I listen to the radio, where I'm just like, what was that? But I think because us behind the scenes, we like, you're the same way, where it's like you work so much to like, it's life or death. Every decision, every time you go in the studio, it's like, okay, this has to be the best thing ever. So it means a lot that your music was something that penetrated that. And then I guess the next time we really hung out, or we got to really like get to know each other, was we talked about that Belgium trip, and where we were doing the festival gigs, and then we were all just kind of like, oh man, we should do stuff. And like I was kind of fangirling a little bit, because I'm like, I want to be like next to this. So I don't know, it's a big deal for me going out on this tour with you guys, and getting to know you, and then getting to write with you, and getting to know the inner workings of how you guys work, and against how we do it. And it's just it's been lovely so far. So and the tour hasn't even started yet, so I'm already like there, and so it's I feel like it's going to be great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Yeah, well, shit, thank you for all the love there. Yeah, I think it was so we're going on about 10 years now as a band. So it was around maybe 10 years ago, maybe. I can't remember if it was like we were already starting a tour, and I came across I can't remember if it was we were already on the road, or if I was at home. We were starting I Prevail. I heard you guys' music on our local radio station, so I was familiar to a point, and I was like, damn, this girl's got pipes. And then found out you played too. It's like, damn, she shreds too. Holy hell. But yeah, I think it was one of our first years of touring. We played that festival with you guys and got to see you live then, and it was just like, man, a force, just power, just pure power up there. It was really fun to watch. And I think we may have played another festival. Maybe it was like us and In This Moment, maybe Iowa or something, or Wisconsin.
Maybe it was Iowa. I'm thinking Omaha, but maybe it was Iowa. I think you're right.
River Riot or something. I think that's what it was called.
I was like close with the river thing. That's funny.
Yeah. So we, I remember playing with you guys once or twice, and just being blown away. So.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, and but yeah, moving forward, it was that Belgian festival, Grass Pop, when we finally got to meet. But being side stage, the two times I saw you, I was out at front of house just watching the show, and this time like being up side stage and just seeing the crowd, seeing your perspective of the crowd, and seeing all these people just belting these choruses back, and And I won't forget like how you walked out and started the set. You just fucking ripped it, like vocal, just oh my god, it
The
was sick. It was sick.
guys like to
So
throw me to the wolves, and to my own detriment. I like being the first off the cliff and hoping the parachute opens. Um, it's literally like that all the time, and that was a thing that we used to do in the beginning because it was something that nobody else was doing, and it's like it's still terrifying every single time. Um, so, and we try to switch it up so it's not the same thing all the time, but that's hilarious. I'm so thank you so much for taking the time to like see all the perspectives. I feel like a lot of people don't.
yeah,
For all of you guys eavesdropping, this is how we get our stuff together, because it's like, you know, we live this weird life. You know, we're like, I always liken it to astronauts. You know, it's like we go to space and all of us are trying to catch comets and trying to like whatever, like live this life. And then you come back to Earth and you're like, how much time has gone by? How come these guys have kids now and so is divorced? And like, you know, the re-entry.
when do they even get married?
Well, I know, when did that happen? Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, thank you for taking the time to get to know that. It's wonderful. I think that this tour coming up, I have such a love for this tour because it's just a little different. You know, we ended up doing, you know, this collaboration together for our new song. If you guys haven't listened to it yet, you're just losing right now, by the way. It's called Can You See Me in the Dark? And we ended up collaborating long distance to make this song together. And it's just so beautiful because I think that both of our camps, regardless of our timelines, our influences, the way that our inner workings, because every band is different. I think that through this experience, I've gotten to rediscover the bigger idea of it all, where it's like, this is not just I'm hitching my wagon against yours, you're hitching your wagon against mine, we do some shows, we sign some stuff. It's like there's this feeling within the community of our fans that this is like just kind of a safe space. We're providing this almost this service in this day and age where it's like everything is crazy, but here's a spot where you can be. And these are people that are just like us. And is it weird for you to like look at these people and be like, no, this is like, that's me. You know, I just happen to be on stage. It's wild to rediscover that.
I think our careers happen, it feels like so fast. And it was really on the upswing after we released Trauma and then COVID. We were just locked out for, 2.5 years. And when we finally get back on the road, we're like, man, it's been 10 years, but really we've only been really doing this 6 years or so. So I think on top of trying not to take all the touring and trying to be that fan at the show while I'm at the show perspective, if we didn't have all that time off, I think I would have lost sight on that. But now having this time back, it's like, I never want to go through that again. And it still feels fresh and it still feels fun. And even when the days are tough, it's like, when we end up playing a festival and I, get to go run around and see a bunch of bands that I never thought I'd get to see, or, we have a tour and it's like, it's a rough day, but I know we're out with some friends and, like this tour at the end of almost every show, we're cooking out and I hope you're ready for it. We'll be drinking and cooking dogs, but it's like, just trying to be that fan, be like, damn, I'm doing what I've wanted to do. I'm getting the opportunity to hang with bands that I've grew up listening to and become friends with and acquaintance with. It's try to keep that mentality. I think is I'm lucky to have something that was like like COVID taking us off the road to keep my focus on like how good I do have it.
That's beautiful. And I think that's something that I look forward to sharing with you guys, like in a bigger picture beyond just doing the shows and having the excitement of that. I'm really looking forward to the camaraderie with you guys, because I feel like regardless of our, everybody's got their different map, their different like road up our, all of our personal like Everest climbs. Like we don't know what's happening, but like we both go. I think that that's something that we both kind of went through, because through the past couple of years, and even like like this past year and maybe even last year, like the wave after COVID where we're all just like manic, just like we have to make up for lost time and let's just do all the things. And I think that's something that we learned too, was that hole that is left, you know, when everything went away, it can't be filled with anything else. And so I think that it gave us same, you know, a greater appreciation for the why we're doing this, and really making sure that we spend the time. It's not all about perfection and work and let's, you know, keep the train moving. It's like, let's take some time to stop and smell the roses, and or, you know, as you were saying earlier, let's get out the grill and make some hot dogs. Which is more my speed of stop and smell the roses. I think stop and smell the hot dogs grilling is pretty.
Yeah, this tour is it's gonna be a blast. You know, with the bands that we're bringing out, the vibes, everyone that like I've met, now meeting you guys, have met everyone on this tour at some point, and crew, it seems to be returning. All the same dudes, and it's like it's just gonna be some sort of family reunion where we're just introducing new parties to it, and yeah, it's just gonna be a good time. The show is gonna be nuts. I know you guys stuff gonna be killer. We're working on a solid set, and it's gonna be a good time.
We're doing the same thing too. The guys are coming over this afternoon, and we're trying to find new moments, and you know, because all of last and whatever the past like 2 years, our whole last album cycle, we were going like on 10 the whole time, and we pulled it off beautifully. But now I'm like, hey guys, let's shake it up a little bit and let's find some new, because like a lot of it was kind of like very, very vocal heavy, which I don't know whether you're looking forward to this, like, because I know, you know, you went out on tour in Europe without your partner, you know, and is this going to be the first like kind of like tour performance back where he's kind of back with you? You get to be shoulder to shoulder again, you know?
Yeah, we were just back from Europe 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago. I don't know, time's irrelevant at this point. I have no idea. Yeah, but yeah, it'll be the first shows back since Europe.
That's awesome. That's exciting. I know, kind of likewise to us. We've had a couple like one-off things that I've done some things outside of Halestorm, but yeah, this will be. So I've been putting myself through training again. This sounds really nerdy, but I've been like singing on a trampoline and trying to get my stuff together. I really haven't talked about this with anybody, but like I went through this weird like just a body composition change a couple months ago, like shortly after like the new year. And I'm blaming it on turning 40, but really I just think it's my brain deciding to like evolve or do something else. But but like I ended up I've been taking care of myself. I quit drinking shortly around August, October is where I was kind of starting to slow down in that, because I've been just kind of trying to weed myself out of certain things that don't serve me. And that's not just like drugs and alcohol, but it's just like certain things that just aren't
totally
fitting in my life. And so because of that and a lot of other mental things that I'm trying to work out through, I've gone to therapy for a bunch of years and I've been enjoying that. I lost a bunch of weight. We've been off tour. And so I've had a couple of these like little projects like that I've pulled off, but I'm like, oh my God, like a 6-week something tour, you know, or something like that. I'm like, I have to get back into shape doing this, because it's like now I'm like, I'm really good at the like weekend warrior stuff, you know. I'm like, okay, project, right. Yeah, I'm on 10, but I'm like, oh my God, maintaining. So I've been putting myself through a bit of training again, and I found all these like old, this is gonna really make me sound old, but I have cassette tapes from when I first started vocal lessons. You know,
no way. That's cool.
I met this guy in PA. We had a show together. I was 16 at the Tourist Inn in Hale, Pennsylvania, which is like this biker bar. And I met this guy. He was in a band for a long time in the 80s called Kicks. And he had a side project in PA or whatever. I opened up for him. and he's like warming up. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm warming up. Like, what is that? So he ended up for the next year and a half, 2 years, pretty much teaching me the ropes. And I found all of these like cassette tapes of my like 16-year-old self learning how to use breath control and like stamina. So I've been putting myself through that again, trying to like just it's not for any like real like need other than mentally I need to know that I like remember all the basics, because I feel like a different person than I was last year. And I feel like and more, I don't know whether you feel that I feel this from you, because I feel a lot of like you're very grateful and you're very present in the moment. And we've had some of these conversations on and off while, you know, working on the song and preparing for tour. But I feel like I am not who I was, but I have no idea who I'm becoming, but I'm okay with it, you know? And it's a really weird feeling to not be like in control. And so this is part of me trying to be like, let me make sure I'm in control in some way.
Yeah,
But I don't know whether you're going through that at the moment with all of the things going on, but
I can't say I am going through the exact same, but I do know what you mean, and I've had that moment, or those moments, and but speaking of getting into shape, I'm gonna have to get my big ass on the treadmill here pretty soon and start doing some work on some breath
I hate
control
that.
and
I hate it with passion.
running's my least
Oh,
favorite
it's the
thing to
worst.
do.
I'm
That's
telling
why I
you,
played.
get a trampoline. I'm going back and forth from like stationary bike to a trampoline, and the trampoline is just fun, but it does get your heart rate up like in an insane amount, but it's still kind of
Really?
you're jumping on the bed, so it's been helping my lazy butt do something about it. But you did Europe, you know, s- pretty much solo, and that must have been a crazy challenge for you. And I was, you know, I was watching some of the fan videos. Like I thought you did beautifully.
Oh,
And
thank you. I gotta say, Dylan, our guitarist who sings as well, he picked up a lot of slack and helped for sure. I wouldn't have been able to do it without him. So I gotta
but
give him, you know, credit credit where credit's due. We talk about mental health, or that's like in our DNA and in our music, and it's important for us because, you know, I lost one of my good friends to suicide, and have friends and family who deal with mental health stuff, and you know, myself included. Um, and knowing that a lot of our fans, you know, like 10 years ago, let's say, it wasn't really, I guess, at the forefront to talk about, and wasn't like, whether it was cool or you were too tough to talk about it, or whatever. But now it's I think we're at a point now where it's very open to talk about, but I think we're at a point where it needs to be like, you know, still driven home that you're not alone, you know, and maybe you do, you know, if you're feeling alone or lost, maybe you do need to go talk to someone. Maybe it's not just it's not, you know, it can't be me, right? You know, I think it's important to keep that on the forefront, and not every person that's super struggling, it's not just them that need to talk, you know, like it's okay for everyone should have a moment where they need to talk to someone, and feel that it's okay to, you know, dump. So I think keeping that in our theme of music is important. And I see that crossover, and it's the same for you guys, it seems.
yeah, I remember. So I it wasn't that long ago. Like it was like our parents' generation, and a lot of I remember being, you know, Christmas dinners or something, and everyone like kind of whispering like, oh, did you hear about like Janet, you know, my aunt or something, like she's got to go see a therapist because she can't handle the divorce on her own. And like all those like that stigma was still happening, where it's like if you went to a therapist that meant you were crazy, you know.
Right,
And
right.
it was a big deal. And you know, I've been in therapy for probably about I want to say 5 or 6 years. I'm fairly new to it. You know, I kind of started going like before COVID, because I was starting to have some things that nobody knew how to talk with me about. And it was my little brother. and our drummer RJ, who convinced me, because he went first. He was the maiden voyage in our family to like go and see a therapist, and we were on the bus one night. It was like, I don't know, like 2 a.m, and I was kind of venting to him about some stuff because he's been my buddy forever and we started the band together. And so he's like that guy that like, hey, remember this? And, so it's a lot of that. And he just turned to me, he's like, hey, you should really go see somebody, because he's like, think about it. It's like we go to a dentist for our teeth and a physical doctor to make sure that all our heart and lungs and everything's working out. It's like, why not go to a brain doctor like that actually knows like emotionally how to like the language. And
Right.
and at first, you know, it's tough because I feel like when I first started going to therapy, it was like a have to. It was a like, you know what, I should, because I can't figure this stuff out on my own. And now it's developed into this like beautiful like tool that I can use in my life, not just for my problems, but just getting to know myself. And there is this beautiful, this like weight, this like very, like you can feel the clouds lift, the weight being lifted off of you that you've been carrying forever, just by hearing somebody say, hey, that thing that happens to you, that's normal. You're not the only one that goes this, or that wasn't your fault, or hey, this is how you think here. When you start to feel this way, here's what you do. It just like you're just getting different tools to use. So I started to think about it almost like you're learning a new skill. Like, oh, I want to get into photography. Therefore, I should be going and learning some things from some people on how I can view through the lens, where it's kind of the same thing now that I'm using therapy for. And it just, it seeps its way into everything, into the way I view my songs. For instance, something that's helped me in both areas has been this parts work that we've been using. And it sounds like something out of a movie, but because, you know, whatever, I'm like perpetually still a teenager inside and, you know, can't math too hard. There's not a whole lot of things I can do right. I like keep, you know, I have a good handful and I'm sticking to it. But she started doing this parts work with me where it's literally like something out of a movie. Like you're separating these parts. You're having like a board meeting with all of your different personalities and giving them things to do. So one of the bigger ones for me is that I have a dominant, like logical, like guardian protector brain. And then I have this very, like, I call it the kindergartner. It's like just reckless kindergartner, wants to finger paint, wants to make a mess. I don't care about the consequences, you know, freedom.
Right.
So what I've been able to learn is that those two things can't always work together. They're just going to fight each other and nothing ever gets accomplished. Whereas if I'm able to kind of go into a situation now, well, what's this job? This job is play. I need to go in with my creative brain first, my reckless brain first, then come in with the logic brain and be like, okay, we can make this finger painting that looks like a horse, but now it's going to become a tuba. You know, it can be more purple here, but it's, you know, and so that leaches its way into the songwriting too, as to my approach with that. So, you know, I can't recommend it enough if anybody's on the fence about it. Because it's a safe space. There's, you know, especially if you find the right therapist. And I've been through a few since I found my the one I've been with for a while, and she's amazing because she's also been in the music business. I think that was very important to me. She was an artist first, and then got into management, and then kind of figured out that that's not what she wants to do in life, and she loves this. But it's been wonderful because I don't have to explain my life to her either. So anyway, I digress, but it's just such an important part of my life now. And it's something that should be talked about. And what I love about what you guys do is that you're actively bashing at that stigma, and you're not, and from getting to know you guys too, is that you're not doing it for shock value's sake. You're not talking about your trauma because, you know, it's in vogue, because it's hard to talk about that stuff. And I've you know, deep dove and I've read your lyrics, and it's a lot of it is like, it's crazy how I'm able to see myself reflected in it, because it's like, it's so much, you know, subconscious runoff of thought and unapologetically like, I need to put this here. I need to put this here or something bad is going to happen. And what I've learned, the relationship between the music and the songwriting, because something that my therapist told me, she early on, she's like, well, let's talk about music. I'm like, fine, let's talk about music. I do music all the time now. It's my job. It's like the biggest thing, you know, sometimes I need a break to talk about music. You know, she's like, no, but let's talk about actually why you do music. I'm like, okay.
Mm.
So what we realized was that it's not just this means to an end. It never started out that way. I mean, the fact that we can call this a career is kind of mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
And it's like perk. But the reason that we're in it is because we have to write this stuff down. We have to express it in some way, or we die, you know, or we will tuck ourselves into a hole and then pick ourselves apart into oblivion. And so, like, real-time example, I wrote this really stingy song, like hurtful song, about a family member of mine that did some things to me, you know, when I was younger. And I wrote this song about it, and then immediately took that person, because it just so happened to be the next day and a half or whatever it was, happened to be their birthday, and I was taking them out to dinner and a movie because I felt obligated to or whatever. And I wrote this song. I went out and I had the best time because I had learned something, and I had, all of a sudden it put me in a position of power in that relationship, to the point that I could let go of a lot of the things that were just kind of plaguing me. And I was able to face this person in a different way and have a civil conversation. And in real time was able to realize how much we need this music to get through this messy thing that's in our head. And it's a way for us to learn about ourselves and put that puzzle together. So I don't know. I think that it all helps each other. And then I don't know whether you've had this, but I think our fans, especially our super fans, the ones that come to 8 shows in a row and buy every meet and greet and every t-shirt, I kind of got saved by them a little bit. On the last album cycle, I was going through kind of a very self-deprecating low point on a tour. And these girls came up to me after a couple days of me kind of going through this, and they had seen some shows before, and they came up and, you know, at this meet and greet, like, are you okay? And of course I go through the whole thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just tired, you know, whatever. It's like the show will go on. And they're like, well, you know, okay, well, there's something different at these last couple shows that wasn't at the first couple shows, you know, and like, so we equipped to that. And then it was immediate. The next meet and greet, we had each one of these girls, and we're talking, I call them they called themselves this, they call themselves the Lzzy birds. They're in Europe, and they're these girls that come and like, they'll just buy into everything, and we'll see them the entire tour, you know, and like, we'll go to rock bars and we'll see them and all that stuff. And so she, you know, each of them in their individual way, gave me a note. They each wrote, like, I guess they were in cahoots, and they wrote me these love letters, and each in their individual way, and these love notes. I'm reading them backstage and kind of crying about it. And they said, hey, we don't know what's going on with you, but here's the reason why we've been with you forever. And it's okay if you're not okay. If you have to cancel a tour, if you have to skip a song, if you don't want to do the night, that's fine with us, because here's what you've done for us, and we will do the same for you. We're not going to go anywhere. We're not going to leave you. It's okay not to be the strong person right now. And I just lost it backstage, and the guys like walked in, like, just like, why are you crying? I'm like, just read this. And so then fast forward to the next time I saw them, I kind of held court back by the buses, and I told them exactly what was going on. I gave them all the gory details, and it just felt so good. And I realized that I got so much more from these beautiful fans that follow us by peeling back the onion and being like, yeah, I'm not perfect. I don't like this about myself. I'm doing this. I'm tired. I'm kind of sick of this avatar that I've created, all of these things. And it was just so wonderful to get through that. And so, I don't know, I try to like put that out in the world for anyone struggling, is that it's okay to be flawed. We all are. Give yourself permission to be, because that's what makes us who we are. That's also part of the beauty. We are the sum of our dark and light. We wouldn't be the crazy people that people actually are attracted to and for whatever reason listen to our music if we weren't both of those things. So trying to keep that. And I will step, that was my TED talk. I'll step off the soapbox.
No, that was great.
I get
that was great. It's exciting that our song is finally out after a year after we met, talking about this co-headliner, talking about doing a collab together, the back and forth and the long distance of writing. That's really the first, aside from, you know, on top of it being a collab and it's our first like full-on collaboration, it was an interesting challenge to write with a band across across the country at times, and I think we finally put it out, and it's something I'm very proud of and very excited, and weight off my chest, all of the above. I'm very excited, but yeah, I'm excited to hear what you guys have going on. But we got some plans of just maybe reaching out and doing some more collaborations in some regard, maybe features, maybe bigger collaborations like this one, and all while trying to start working on some new I Prevail material. This is the first time that we've been like writing in between tours, on off days. Usually it's like, all right, shut down shop, 8 months off, write the record. Or it was the last record was written during COVID, and man, shit, we were still in the album cycle of Trauma. We're like, I guess we start writing, and so now it's been these last almost a year of like just writing demos and just hanging out and being creative. It's got this like new, I don't know, this like itch in my brain that I gotta scratch. It's like I can't wait for 2 months off in between tours. Let's get a hotel room tomorrow and see if we can get this idea out of my brain. Or I want to hear what Steve's been talking about riffing. I want to let's work on it. So really excited for our future as well as I am for you guys. And I'm curious, you guys, how's your process? Do you guys start writing demos like in between tours? Do you guys sit down and take a big chunk of time off? Is it always been different? It feels like for us it's always been different, but
yeah, I think it's a different beast every single time, but for the most part, we're kind of in the same boat as you are. Whereas traditionally we'll take a chunk of time and be like, this is just for writing, but what we found this past we're in the middle of writing a new Halestorm album, and we're doing it with Dave Cobb, which is new for us. And because of the way the world is and our touring schedule and his schedule, we've been like taking chunks of time, as in like, okay, here's 3 weeks, and then we go out, or we do other things, or we go out on tour, we come back 3 weeks, and we have one more session in September with him to kind of do the finishing touches and see where we're at and all that stuff. But it's I feel like I'm in the same position you are, where I have a renewed sense of my love for the creative side of it. And that's not necessarily because I ever lost it, but I think that we need, I feel like personally, I needed time to discover that again, away from the other responsibilities and having some, a spot. But also there's this weird like ADHD thematic situation going on with all of us, like just the way that we're operating, that I've actually really enjoyed. So it's not like the pressure, like, okay, you only have 2 weeks, we better come up with whatever. It's like, or here's the plan, here's all the demos. We went into the studio the first time with Dave Cobb, and you always have like we always have a bank of things, like here's a song here, here's a song without the riffs, here's a piano ballad, here's riffs without the lyrics, here's all this. And he said, oh no, we're not even dabbling into any of that. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, no plan, let's just start now from scratch. Here's who's got a drum beat, go. Like,
love that.
Okay. And it's been so amazing, because what we've been doing is that we're creating, but we're recording in real time, which we've never really done before, where it's like a couple different stages. Like, okay, we make demos, and then everybody has to have a sit down. What songs do we like? What do we think are special? What needs improving? Then you get in the studio, you have like, the plan. Dave Cobb does not like a plan because he gets locked in the plan. So at first I felt really lost. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like, now I feel unprepared. This is scary. And it's so beautiful because we've just skipped the whole middleman. So what we're getting in real time is this excitement, these moments, the takes, which I had been doing on my own vocally for the past probably 5 or 6, maybe 7 years, since we did the Vicious album. What I started noticing is that as I would take things home and add vocals to them, because it was the beginning stages of the creative process, I was getting these takes vocally that I could not recreate later because I'm thinking too much. Now I know it. Now I want to be like singer, and the vulnerability would be lost, or the curiosity would be lost. So on the last 2 or 3 albums that we've done, at least 80% of what is down there I've done from home is just the demo takes. So it's been kind of
funny how it ends up like that?
Yeah, it's wild. And I'm like, really? Yeah. But it's wild to kind of do that now with everybody. So with just everybody involved, and especially with my brother, because my brother, our drummer, is very much like me, where he's amazing. Like, the only reason we were ever able to start Halestorm when I was 13 was because he was always great, and he's a little sponge. But when you catch him at this like beautiful point where he doesn't really know what's going on yet, but he's like willing to be there, it's the best. As soon as he starts overthinking it, then it loses the human element of it. So it's been beautiful to do that, and I think we're in a good rhythm now of time off from thinking that way and then time on. Because I think that there's a weird thing that happens with us too. If you're just like a month off, we're just gonna get into studio mode, because I can get really down the rabbit hole and like manic to the point that I can't get out of it, and I'm annoying the hell out of everyone. So it's been nice to have like little breaks, because I think we need that to absorb first and then purge. First you got to stuff yourself and then vomit it out.
And then when you get the chance, like, I think that's what helped us with True Powers. Like, we wrote that record for almost damn near 2 years. So some of these ideas that we had, I mean, Fear and Letting Go, that song specifically, we had a bridge in that song that we were like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And that was like maybe the first quarter of time. That was one of the first songs, maybe halfway through. And then it wasn't until like near deadline time, 2 years into it, where I think Steve came up with this new progression, and new, what it is now, this breakdown, and it's one of my favorite parts. And if we didn't live with it and live with it and live with it, and there's some demos now that we started a year ago, I was super hot on, but now I got some time to live with it, and I got some more ideas for it. I think I found some fresh inspiration for it, rather than just like. So there's what I'm saying is, that finding that equal balance of like not living with it and having demoitis and beating yourself up over and over and over and over, until you're like, I don't even know what the song is. I like to call it lost in the sauce. You got lost in the sauce on it. And I know Tyler Smith says that a lot too. But yeah, it's trying to find that balance of like living with it and knowing that it'll have stand the test of time. And also going with, more than half the time, the first thing that we tracked, or the first vocal take I took, or the first like lyric, tagline, hook, whatever it was, 8 to 9 times out of 10, it's usually somewhere around there. It's not the third or fourth one that we tried to beat to death, So trying to find that line of like trusting your gut, but letting it sit and evolve when it needs to,
One that stands out for us, and this is the whole reason why we do like secret handshake stuff right before stage and everybody gets together like an hour out, is so that we all know that we're all present. One of them, it was like early touring days. I promise I won't get into a whole soapbox with you, but early touring days, we were first of 4, and at the time that was when I first started utilizing starting the whole set a cappella thing, because nobody else was doing that at the time, and we wanted to stand out. And so I had this whole chorus for one of our songs, It's Not You. And I did the whole chorus a cappella. and the guys have a cue where they'll all kind of walk on. We start the song, but it's, you know, up to me first. So I get to my cue and I turn left and right, and Joe and Josh, bass player and guitar player, are like doing this. They're like, stall. We don't know where RJ is. We don't know where our drummer is. You know, it's like he's not anywhere to be found. So I said something, I think it was in Nebraska, because I said something like, Nebraska. Like, I remember saying Nebraska. I had to ad-lib some stuff. And then I see him out of the corner of my eye, like just kind of running. He like did a flying leap over his drum kit. We started the song, it was fine. But he was like locked outside of the building. And usually these things, you know, start and end with RJ. He's gotten himself locked outside of a building, inside of a dressing room, inside of a bathroom, you know, like just wrong timeline. So we started doing this like secret handshake thing, or starting to do little things together from there, so we know we're all together. Now, now this is then fast forward to probably 2019 or maybe 18. We've started to do these. We don't do we don't do click or tracks or any of that stuff, just because that we do things in an old school way that can also, you know, run amok sometimes. We had this notion to, in the middle of I Miss the Misery, just kind of go off like, oh, we're in the key of A, let's do some jams. So we like start kind of trading off, doing little solos or whatever, getting the crowd going. And you know, our guitar player, Joe, looks at his watch. He's like, holy crap, we still have 15 minutes left in our set. We're on our last song. We're on I Miss the Misery, one of our bigger songs. We're like, let's extend it. So we extend the song even more. And then he realizes that his watch had stopped working. This is before he had like the Apple Watch. His watch that worked. So our crew is freaking out because we only have like 2 minutes, not 15, right? So we're going off and they're like, what are you doing? So you can see, there was a video there was an 11-minute version of I Miss the Misery out there somewhere. I forget where it was, but you can see all of us pulling the brakes hard, like, oh no, we have to end this now. Curfew is here. And it's like, we all try to figure out a way to like write the train, and here's the ending. You can just hear everybody just like, dun, 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 dun. All right, we're gonna stop the song. But it's like, oh my God. And then we just watched Spinal Tap like 3 weeks ago and are realizing that that is no longer a mockumentary. It's like, there's so much truth. But yeah, every night. I don't know. Do you have any moments like that either consistently or like, yeah.
I've got, you know, there was one show I went to do this like stomp thing, and I ripped my pants from my crotch down to my ankle. Had to finish the set in my boxers essentially. I've fallen off stages. One time, there's a video somewhere. We just got metal risers, like rock boxes, and I had my foot on the back edge of it, and I went to like headbang, and it flipped up. I fell face first into the riser, bloody nose for the next 2 songs. I've walked off. There was this venue. It was an old school called Q&Z Expo in Ringgold, Wisconsin, and we were like, this is like 2016 maybe. It was our first, 3rd, 4th tour maybe ever, and we're headlining. There's the edge of the stage and the lights, and I couldn't tell where it was, so I went to go like reach out to the crowd, and I missed. And I fell.
No.
And I broke 2 ribs and had to finish the set. That was pretty tight. But I'll say that there's a video of this somewhere. We documented it actually. After one of our songs, Fuck What You Think You Know, there's this like instrumental outro. And usually I'm up there like doing the windmill like with my hair, or like I'm headbanging along or whatever, something. And then it would go into deep end, and we had this like 1.5 minute like little interlude that the dudes would just jam on for a minute. And we are playing, oh boy, I cannot remember the venue, but from the stage right, there were stairs. You go down 2 flights of stairs. You'd have to open the door, and you go all the way down the hall to the other end of the venue was our green room. And there was a restroom in there. And I had some kind of stomach bug. And, you know, when you really push some of these screams, you're really pushing from scary areas. And yeah, it was in that moment of Fuck What You Think You Know went to fuck, I might shit myself. So I ran off stage, sprinted downstairs, sprinted across the venue. That's when our camera guy caught up to me, catches me out of the bathroom, hands me the microphone. I run up there, and I get there just in time for my line. That was scary.
Oh my God. No, that's like nightmare fuel. We opened up for Judas Priest in Auckland, New Zealand. First time ever like meeting Priest and Rob Halford. I had something in catering that did not agree with me. And so I was like literally every 5 minutes, just like trying to find a bathroom. And in the meantime, Rob Halford is looking for me to like say hi, because he's one of those guys who wants to say hi to the opening band, you know? And so like I come out of this bathroom just like, oh my God, you know, and it's like, here's Rob Halford like in the doorway, like, hello, how are you? Like, and I turned to my bass player. I wore like these latex rubber pants, just like these leggings that I had. I'm like, just in case. And we're like about to go on stage. I remember saying to my bass player, I'm like, this could be one of those nights where we say, hey, remember that time we opened up for Judas Priest and Lzzy shit her pants on stage? I hope that's not what we said. And long story short, it didn't end up happening. But what you just went through, like now, like I'm like, I have panic for you, because that's just, you all have no idea what the mental gymnastics we have to go through to make a show for you guys. It's, you know, all behind the scenes.
Speaking of Australia, I got one more. It's our first time in Australia. Halfway through the set, I get hit in the face with a shoe, and I'm going off on the crowd. I'm like, who threw their shoe? And everyone's cheering. I'm like, yo, who threw their shoe? And everyone starts cheering again. And finally, we have in-ears, and one of our crew guys comes in and he's like, no. He was a local, and he's like, oh no, mate, it's a good thing, And I'm like, what? And I went offside stage and told me about a shoey. They want you to chug a beer out of a shoe. So we played, I don't know, and I'd have to go back and do the math, but I think we've done 12 to 14 shows in Australia, if I'm counting right. And I've done a shoe at every single one of them. And the last one was Good Things Festival. Someone threw up a prosthetic leg. So there's a picture somewhere of me drinking beer out of a prosthetic leg. And I think Post Malone has the record of like 17 shoeys in a show. Yeah, next headliner, I'm gonna top that.
Hell yeah, dude. Dude, I'll be side stage cheering you on. I've never done a shoey, but I've had someone do a shoey out of my stiletto, which is, I feel like, is close. But
yeah, you were there.
I've had to go on stage with a squishy, like beer-filled shoe.